welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host Kevin. This week we'll be discussing the 1977 comedy classic Slapshot, starring Paul Newman, Strother Martin, Michael Onkeen. The list goes on and on. It's an all-star cast. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week on the B Movie Club we discuss a forgotten classic or a guilty pleasure. You can subscribe to our show on YouTube at Kevin D. You can also go to our page on Facebook and click the like button. It's the original B Movie Club. If you want to reach me directly, you can also tweet me on Twitter at KD9575. First of all, I want to apologize. We've had a lot going on over here at the B Movie Club. I've moved recently, so this last week has been kind of wacky. And we're still kind of getting things out of boxes, so please bear with us. We may be a little sporadic for the next couple of weeks, but I'll do what I can for those true believers, the real fans of the B Movie Club. Don't forget to spread the word. Slapshot in this movie. You've got Reg Dunlop, played by Paul Newman. He was kind of an over-the-hill former hockey star who's now the player-coach of the Charlestown Chiefs, which is a kind of a minor league, semi-pro hockey league in like the Northeast. And he's not a very good player anymore. He's not a very good coach. He's got kind of a underachieving, not a whole lot of talent team. But one of his better players, Ned Braden, played by Michael Onkeen, he's doing well. I mean, he's a good player. He's having kind of relationship issues with his wife, who's not happy that he dragged her all the way to Charlestown, which could be in New England, could be in Pennsylvania. Nobody knows. They don't really get into specifics. Meanwhile, Paul Newman is kind of he's kind of a womanizer. I mean, he's got an ex-wife that he's kind of romancing. Meanwhile, he's shacking up with a number of other people. You know, the mill's closing in the town, factory, so now that means the team may fold, but in order to kind of help himself, he wants to get if the team does fold, he wants to have a chance to get a better job, continue coaching, but his team is doing so horribly, it's like no one will give him a chance. So he kind of floats a rumor that the team's going to be sold to a corporation down in Miami, so they'll be playing in Florida, where it's, beaches and warm weather, things like that. We know it's baloney, but the rest of the team doesn't know it. The general manager, played by Strother Martin, he goes ahead and acquires 3 players from another team, the Hanson brothers, who are 3 guys who, they're good skaters, I guess, but it's really, they're just into brawling. They go out there, they're hitting people with hockey sticks, they're slamming people through plate glass windows, but because they're so disruptive, they're able to eke out a few victories. So Paul Newman, realizing this may be his only chance to win games, encourages that everybody now goon it up, as they say, where they're just crashing into people. They're less concerned about anything. They're getting in fights during warm-ups when the referees aren't even on the ice. It's crazy. Also, now because they're more interesting to watch, the fans are now starting to turn out. So things seem to be going well. But they're turning away from the basic principles of hockey. I have to be honest, I'm not a huge hockey guy myself. But it seems like you've got on one side Ned, the young up-and-comer who embraces hey, let's stick to the rules and the principles and the ideas of hockey. And on the other side, you have the Hanson brothers, who are just basically assassins out there, murdering people on the ice. So, I don't want to spoil everything. I don't want to give it all away. If you haven't seen it on Netflix yet, it is still streaming instantly, so rush out and see it. I enjoy this movie because it is very much a snapshot of what's going on in the 70s. I mean, the fashion is very 70s, the music, there's a lot of Fleetwood Mac, who I enjoy. I enjoy 70s disco music as well. There's a lot of that in this. What's interesting to me is the language. is so perverse. It is so foul. For that time, especially, they had to put out a special warning. It's like the language is so bad that it may not be appropriate for small children. Yeah, that's an understatement. I mean, we all know Paul Newman, very well respected actor, but he in this movie is literally like the foulest language you ever will ever hear from Paul Newman. I mean, he had a hard time with it at first, but by the end of the movie, I know he was cursing like a sailor in his personal life. He had to kind of get it back under control when filming was over. He has actually said on many occasions that this was the movie that he had the most fun working on of all of his movies. So there you go. It's a comedy, but it's kind of a drama too. There's a lot of dramatic stuff going on in terms of like personal relationships, dealing with the loss of the team, the fact that the mill's closing, uh, Ned's relationship with his wife. There's a lot of dramatic things going on. Before I go and give you any more information, I want to introduce, or welcome back, I should say, my buddy Alan, who had never seen this movie before. I actually encouraged him to check it out. He's going to share his personal insights, his thoughts and feelings about Slapshot. So take it away, Alan.
First of all, I'd never seen the movie, and I was expecting kind of like a comedy because I had suggested Goon from you, which I think is really funny. It wasn't really much of a comedy, I don't think. It was Paul Newman. I think Paul Newman was kind of a douchebag in this movie at many moments. He was like the master manipulator of like just getting people to like beat each other up just to try to save the team for his own. And then he was kind of a jackass to his wife, but somehow still charming. That's Paul Newman. You know what I mean? Like in The Color of Money, he was charming yet a douchebag. Just using people for his own things. Um, the part where he really turned it into a d-bag was when he visited the owner's house and realized it was a female, and then realized that she wasn't going to basically do what he wanted, which he wasn't used to the entire movie. And then he like made the really bad homophobic gestures towards her son and just offended him and stuff. It took a really dark turn at that part. But then they try to like, I don't know, salvage it and be like, oh well, we're gonna win this game the old-fashioned way, and they keep on like referencing three guys. I don't know, one guy was Eddie something. I have no idea. Yeah, I mean it's like the whole idea is like, oh well, we're goons, we're clowns, or whatever, and the people like the violence, and we're gonna try to keep it pure. Was basically the underlying theme of the whole movie. But in the whole movie, he's just manipulating people. And I was like, wow, I honestly, after watching this movie, I like Paul Newman less. I do. I was like, wow, I was like I always thought, okay, Paul Newman is a charming guy, and he always had something about him, especially Color of Money, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But I felt bad for the guy that wanted to be all like, my new name is Killer and all this other stuff like that, because he's just like, oh god, I'm like really manipulating these people. And the only guy that wouldn't fall for it was the young star guy that actually could play hockey. And during the movie, I was thinking, oh, like it's kind of playing on like this is like Newman looking at himself in the past of what he could have been or should have been, which is a pretty common theme, even like in The Color of Money, where he's like, taking the guy under his wing. But in this case, Newman didn't take him under his wing. He just, utilized his social skills to just like use people, basically. And one cool thing about this movie, there's a lot of scenes where he's on the phone, payphone, not cell phone. A lot of like payphone, dime in there, and like calling people, never showing him dialing anything, but there's like 3 or 4 scenes, I think, where he's on the payphone manipulating people into doing what he's got to do. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so they tied it off real quick at the end with the star, academic, whatever guy that he ends up stripping at the end, and then the referee just gives him the trophy because the other guy hits him or something like that. I didn't see a lot of penalties in this movie either. Is that weird? People are getting checked in the face, and I don't know. So as far as realism, I don't know much about hockey, and I can tell you that a lot of that was just basically, come on, really. I did like Goon better, so we're gonna have to do Goon, buddy. You know what else besides the fashion? He was wearing like a full-on brown leather suit when he was at dinner with those chicks. The like wide butterfly collars. That was pretty rad. Like as far as era, his car was pretty pimp. Was that like a Le Mans or some shit like that? It was a dope ass muscle car, is what it was. I had a leather jacket like that from the '70s and shit, but I don't bust out the wide butterfly collar. I'm like more of like a button up all the way to the top kind of guy, whether it's a polo or a button up. But yeah, the other thing is the soundtrack. At the very beginning, I think in the very first like 5 minutes, you hear like two Fleetwood Mac songs, and Fleetwood Mac songs generally are about like lamenting loss and like screw you or you want to get back together or whatever.
Thank you, Alan. As some of you guys know, lately I've been using Skype with some of the members of the B Movie Club, uh, which allows me to obviously talk to them over long distances. You know, it's not always easy to get over, get people over here to the B Movie Clubhouse, you know what I'm saying? So Skype is allowing us a good opportunity to, allow those people to send in their feelings. If you have any reflections you'd like to share, any comments, questions you want to do over Skype, let me know. Any particular movies you want to discuss, send them on over. We can talk about it on Skype. What else can I tell you about Slapshot? The guys who played the Hansons, originally they were going to be played by three brothers who are actually hockey players in one of the defunct hockey leagues, like the World Hockey League. Were the Carlson brothers, and so two of them are actually really brothers. The third one actually got called up to continue playing, got a job, so he had to leave, so they had to replace him with a guy who was going to play another part. So two of the three Hanson brothers are really brothers. So there you go. That's important to know. Al Pacino was offered the role of Reg Dunlop, and he actually turned it down. Nick Nolte was considered for this role, but he didn't know how to skate, and there wasn't time for him to learn. Shockingly enough, Donnie Most from Happy Days also auditioned for this. So you can see people were lining up around the corner to be in Slapshot. They actually made 2 sequels to Slapshot, so not really affiliated. No more Paul Newman. But I haven't seen them. I cannot comment on how good or bad they are. So there's that. Obviously, we know all the good things that Paul Newman had done prior to this movie and since. Michael Onkeen, who plays Ned Braden, you might recognize him from Twin Peaks. He actually was going to be a hockey player. He was actually drafted by the New York Rangers, and he actually turned it down to continue his acting career. So there you go. Gene Siskel actually gave this a a mediocre review, and he said that was one of his greatest regrets as a movie reviewer, that he watched it a few more times and now considered it, up to the time of his death, one of the greatest comedies that he's ever seen. So there you go. You know it's good. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 87% fresh, so you can't beat that. Again, it's not exactly a laugh riot. It has a lot of funny scenes. It's not necessary that you understand hockey, although it helps. Let me say it. I've spoken to friends who are big hockey fans, and truth be told, there really aren't that many good hockey movies out there. What do you got? The Mighty Ducks, maybe? So, as far as hockey movies goes, this has got to be considered right up there with the best. So it has that going for it, which is nice. Next week, we're going to be going to the action genre. From 1985's Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, starring Fred Ward, Wilford Brimley, another all-star cast. It is streaming instantly on Netflix, just like Slapshot is still streaming instantly. So if you haven't seen either of these movies, rush out, check it out. Again, you can send me your questions, comments on our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Don't forget to like it. Also on our page on YouTube, Kevin D, my name. You know what I'm saying? And you can reach me on Twitter at KD9575. Spread the word, won't you? As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And here it is. The fans are standing up to them. The security guards are standing up to them. The peanut vendors are standing up to them. By golly, if I can get down there, I'd be standing up to them too. So there you have it. Thank you for joining us. Next week, Remo Williams, the adventure begins. Be well.